Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today I have the pleasure of reviewing the Ddhifi Surface. I'd like to title this review as Analog Musicality. Ddhifi is a very well respected company who are best known for high quality accessories that they manufacture. Founded, I would say, well before 2015. On the earphone itself says since 2007. Date notwithstanding, Ddhifi continues to expand its product line, which now includes cables, audio adapters, DAC amps, earphones, cases, and a myriad of other products. The one thing that sets this company apart from many others is the quality of their products. The manufacturing quality, the haptics, the visuals are all ways above board. And now they're into iems. I'm not even sure if this is their first iem, but that being said, let's talk about the Surface. At $279 USD, the Surface is a collaboration between Ddhifi and Moondrop, that very well-known company. Anyone in the IEM space has heard of Moondrop, who manufacture high-quality iems. As such, the full name of this product is actually the Ddhifi X Moondrop Surface. That's a mouthful. For the sake of this review, I will just refer to the IEM as the Surface. It's a beauty. The Surface employs a hybrid driver setup with a single dynamic driver handling the low frequencies paired with a quartet of balanced armature drivers responsible for the mid-range and treble. All drivers are connected to a crossover board with a three-way crossover. The level of driver cohesion heard is a testament to the skill of the designers and the tuners. Internally, the drivers are housed in a 3D printed front chamber designed to improve the sound quality as each chamber caters to the specific drivers. The Surface is moderately easy to drive and does well with most sources, but the best sonics were heard with a very capable source. And really, it deserves that, at least. I also preferred wideboard tips for listening. And with respect to tuning, what we have here is a balanced approach top to bottom. The most captivating, though, aspect of the tuning is how analog it comes across. Not really something I talk about a lot. There's organic. You've heard me mention organic. You've heard me mention balanced or natural. But this really sounds analog. This IM is tailor-made for long, chill listening sessions and does well with the wide variety of music genres. The sound doesn't rush the ears with over-enthusiastic tones, but is more of a steady hand where the longer I listened to it, the greater my appreciation for the quality of sound I was hearing was evident. So let's get into some specs. First, let's take a little look at this beauty. See the sound tubes, very well done, up to the high Ddhifi standards, I would say. So we have one DD, you can see it right there, and I'm not sure if it shows in the video, and we have 4 BAs split in 2x2. Impedance is 15 ohms plus or minus 15%. Frequency response 10 hertz to 30 kilohertz. Sensitivity 118 decibels per volt RMS. And the connector is an interesting one. It's a 2-pin, but if you can see that clearly, it's recessed. And it's also reinforced with this metal collar. It does come with a 4.4 millimeter balanced termination cable, which I praise Ddhifi for doing so. And we're going to talk about that cable in a bit. Build and fit. The Surface is quite an attractive IEM. Perfectly finished translucent resin shells are capped with a metallic cover with a tastefully done design. Hopefully it comes through. Kind of a brushed design with a nice pattern there. One can see through the shell and view the internal workings, which are neatly done. Very neatly done. The Surface, though, is on the larger size of medium, size of medium, with a prominent nozzle, which is designed and built into the shell. It's part of the resin shell. Thankfully, the nozzle has the slightest of lips to keep the air tips in place. I find when iems have this kind of design where the nozzle is just an extension of the resin itself and there's no lip, tips tend to slide off quite easily, especially when removing them from your ear. Continuing, I do though recommend that tip rolling be done, given its slightly larger size and prominent nozzle. Fitment though was not an issue, and as usual I recommend tip rolling absolutely to maximize fit and seal. I did receive the full package, and I would call it understated elegance. Here's the box. I'm not sure if it's going to fit in the whole shot. A nice tastefully done waifu on the front. I would call it, definitely call it understated elegance. From the tastefully done waifu box, the contour, the color scheme, which continues to the inside contents. Accessories include extra tips. I'll show you them here. These are the tips with the built-in, I don't know what you would call that, kind of like a mesh on the nozzle. They have a moderately firm outside, and the shaft is firmer, more firm. Very good quality. Also, a hard plastic carrying case. This is the case. Very different from most. It does have a rubber surround that actually seals it. I'm not saying it's waterproof, but opening up the case, we have a little blurb on the surface, the waifu on the inside, close, and it comes with a pretty good latch. So that is the plastic case itself. Well, let me get these out of the way. Hard plastic case, and of course, stock cable. This I have to talk about. I'll even put the Surface out of the way. Ddhifi Hi-Fi is known for manufacturing very high quality products in terms of their manufacture and their look, their haptics, as I mentioned before. The cable must come from their cable line. It's one of the nicest stock cables I've seen included with an IEM. Again, definitely from Ddhifi Hi-Fi's line. It is somewhat stiff, but it loosens up over time. Still, the haptics are above board. The looks and apparent quality is excellent. Very good. And of course, it comes ready for the Surface's recessed 2-pin connector. Cable, fantastic. I'm not a really massive fan of the recessed 2-pin connector because I have so many cable investments, I would call it, of cables that may not fit properly. That being said, I'm not going to fault Ddhifi Hi-Fi for doing that. I understand why they did it. It does offer a more secure connection. How many of us have pulled or been walking around and had the earphone cable pulled and the pins were bent, or even worse, stuck inside of the receptacles there? So let's talk about the actual sound performance. Let's start with bass. Bass is tight, clean. It does go deep, very expressive in that regard, but only when called upon in the actual track. There is ample bass power, but it's not in your face. It does reveal itself when the track calls for it. Bass has a really nice, well-rounded, thick presentation to it while still retaining a good amount of detail and texturing. One of the tracks I use for this is Angel by Massive Attack. And it had all of that power and drive that you would ever ask for in that track, with the texture being evident. But I must say, with respect to detail and texture retrieval, the Surface was not the best I've heard recently, being bested by the BGVP NS10 Pro, which I just reviewed. But what the Surface did have on top of that one, or I should say that made it sound still fantastic, was the organic and analog nature of the bass, very alluring to say the least. Mid-bass has good clarity, is balanced with slam when needed. Bass as well does not bleed into the mid-range, potentially blurring the sound. The bass performance of the Surface toes the line with the organic and analog sonics heard in the rest of the frequency range. Well done. As we will see from top to bottom, there is no, I should say, there's a harmony behind how it sounds. It's a very contiguous, very nice sound through from the lowest notes and the lowest bass to the highest treble. The Surface presents a soundscape that's very balanced and exceptionally cohesive. Mid-range. The mid-range is open with a commendable clarity and detail. Where the Surface though really shines is the natural reproduction of vocals, and this actually had me pushing repeat on a number of tracks. I would call this quote-unquote analog organic as a good way to describe it. Listening to He's a Karaoke by Eden Atwood, I was very pleased with not only the vocal clarity but also how realistic the tone was. Both male and female vocals came across as natural, with the emotional energy of the performers clearly heard and felt. The Surface is a vocal champion. If you're into music with vocals, you have your favorite artist, you really ought to give the Surface a listen. The mid-range though, or mid-range in general, is not just about vocals, and here the Surface also excels. Instruments have again a natural and analog sound to them, revealing nuances that can easily pull the listener in. Timbre is quite good, adding immeasurably to the immersive mid-range that the Surface offers. Pitch gain is, thankfully, kept in check. No harshness was heard at all. Note weight is also commendable, and transients are managed well with proper attack and fall off. Layering and separation are also relayed at a very high level. Even at higher volume, it still separates the sound and keeps individual elements in their own space. It never sounded congested. The Surface, that is, never sounded congested, even on busier tracks. Arguably, the mid-range is the crown jewel of the Ddhifi Hi-Fi Surface. It has on offer an immersive, mature, and organic sound that vocal lovers will definitely adore. Let's talk about the treble. Treble is clean and fairly well extended, but strangely enough, I found this to be somewhat source dependent. I found on some sources, the treble sounded more extended than other sources. Even though the Surface in of itself it has a warm kind of sound to it, it still excelled on a warm source, which is unusual. It wasn't too much of a good thing. And that actually was not the deciding factor on whether the treble sounded extended or not. Just I found it very interesting that swapping between sources, people who say that the Surface is somewhat rolled off or rolls off early, I would say try different sources. On a side note for my listeners and viewers, if you get into this hobby, it is a rabbit hole. But the first rabbit hole you should jump into should be really investing in quality sources. For example, for a lot of this listening, I listened using a dongle. Believe it or not, an Astle and Kern AKHC4, thankfully loaned from one of our members, KD, in our Canuck Audioholics review group. I also use amplifiers and other sources I have around in order to get the best synergy. On a side note, people pump their money into buying iems and don't think about what's driving them. Folks, that's the chicken before the egg argument. Invest in some good sources and move up from there. Let's continue. So the treble is clean, fairly well extended. As I mentioned, source dependent with respect to how I heard the extension. That being said, with good synergy, I did not feel I was missing anything. There's ample sparkle in air with palpable space around the notes. No, the Surface is not a bright IEM. It's not bright, for example, as the NS10 may be considered bright. And I'm going to pull that out for a comparison in a bit. Even though it's less expensive, this is what I have most recently, just getting it ready. The treble follows closely with a presentation of the rest of the frequency range, being organic with a definite analog feel. Nothing here stands out, and that's in a good way. There's a balance to the treble delivery that even the treble sensitive may love, but treble lovers will love too because you hear pretty much everything. Again, it's not for the lack of energy, but it's the smooth delivery in the treble that the Surface offers. It's not lacking in treble energy. I just want to make that clear. The Surface is not lacking in treble energy. The treble is natural sounding without harshness or glare. It is a treble tuned to complement the overall sound and does so with excellent results. Imaging and soundstage. Now, the Surface throws up an expansive soundstage with accurate imaging. Width is impressive with well-recorded music. I found with well done recording, that the sound was well beyond my ears in terms of their width. Depth and height are also present in good measure. The space around the instruments is well-recorded music is engaging and never sounds overdone. The Surface offers an immersive soundscape for you to get lost in, with each layer easily discernible. Instrument placement, size of the venue, all of that was relayed very well through the Surface. So let's go some verses here. Now, I just reviewed this wonderful IEM. Let me get it into the shot. This is the BGVP NS10 Pro. It is approximately $100 less than the Surface. Actually, less than 100, I would say. It's less than 100 less than the Surface. It's within striking distance. Both of them offer what I consider fantastic sound, but how do they really sound when they compare against each other? The BGVP offering, I'll give you another look if you didn't see my review video, which came out a few days ago. The BGVP offering has a brighter, more forward tuning, but exceptional clarity. I would say, even with respect to clarity, it's a hard toss-up between the two. I would probably give a slight edge to BGVP, but that really is source dependent. So I would say that either or, it's really a toss-up. Bass presentation of these two IEM is markedly different, with the NS10 Pro being more mid-bass prominent, with additionally more recessed sub-bass than the bass balanced Surface. What does that mean? Well, the BGVP from first listen is mid-bass focus. It has sub-bass, but sub-bass takes a back seat to the mid-bass in terms of power and presentation. But it doesn't mean it's lacking. Both IEM have ample bass energy when called upon. This is another thing that they share, is that they're not going to wow you with the bass, and we're talking about bass here to begin with. But when the track calls for a heavy bass presentation, these will stand up and you'll hear everything. So both of them have ample bass energy when called upon by the track. The NS10 Pro, though does have the edge in bass definition, speed, and texturing. Absolutely. Again, going back to the track Angel, the texture of the bass is much more apparent. I shouldn't say much more, but it is more apparent on the NS10 Pro than the Surface, although you can hear it on both. But the Surface strikes back to have even a more organic sound in the low end with a more thicker, rounded bass sonics. So we have the BGVP NS10 Pro, which excels and beats the Surface when it comes to definition, speed, and texturing, and we have the Surface that is more analog with a thicker, juicier low end. Mid-range is more balanced on the Surface, with that of the NS10 Pro being more lively. The Surface, though, definitely gets the win here for its analog organic mids with excellent vocal delivery. While the NS10 Pro sounds fantastic with vocals, the Surface that analog feel it takes the crown there. Absolutely. Treble is again balanced with the Surface while being more energetic on the NS10 Pro. I'm going to have to give the nod here to the Surface as being more natural. With the NS10 Pro on rare occasion, it would have a little bit too much shimmer on some notes. I noticed on my review I mentioned a track called Change Your Mind by Moonchild. And near the end of the song, there's a bell that keeps getting rung. And on the Surface, it sounded clean, quite natural. While on the NS10 Pro, there was a touch too much shimmer there. And just came through as just a little sharp. So that's the comparison. In conclusion, Ddhifi Hi-Fi has a winner with the Surface. Absolutely a winner. Their collab with Moondrop has resulted in an IEM with a deep analog organic sound. Vocals on the Surface are next level, but it's not just a one-trick pony. Top to bottom, the Surface satisfies with a mature and natural sound that all genres of music benefit from. The Ddhifi Hi-Fi Surface gets a strong recommendation from Silicon Sounds. Thank you for watching me today for the review of the Ddhifi Hi-Fi Surface, a collab between Ddhifi Hi-Fi and Moondrop. And in my opinion, my opinionated music lovers' ears, this is a winner. It's unfortunate that it hasn't had as much exposure, but if you want something that, or you're in the market in this price range for something that has a balanced, analog, clean sound, please put the Surface on your shortlist. Once again, like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel. We are growing, and we'll see you again on the next video from Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us.